foot of the bed clicked on, a white noise she usually liked, but now the rattle of its metal grill grated on her. Kicking off the covers, she got out of bed and pulled on a flannel shirt over her underwear. The apartment was cold, the central heat only partially effective, but her skin was damp with sweat. The chilled wooden floor felt good on her feet as she made her way down the dark hall, passing the second bedroom, empty now except for the exercise bike that she and Dan had bought off Craigslist. She'd never done much to decorate any of the apartments she'd shared with the various roommates she'd had since college. No posters, no pictures in frames, not so much as a throw pillow. But lately she'd begun popping over to TJ Maxx after leaving work at Kelly's Garden Center just across the parking lot and heading straight for the home decor section, buying end tables, area rugs, and other things she couldn't really afford. Maya had plans for this place. She was determined for it to feel like home. It was just before dawn, a gray, wintry light settling over other recent purchases in the living room, the coffee table to replace the one Dan's roommate had taken when he left, new shelves for the many books she had brought, added to all of Dan's. A new-to-them couch, dark green velvet, and hanging on the wall above it, the one decorative item she'd brought with her, the only art she'd held on to for the past 7 years. A Mayan weaving about the size of a bath towel, a tapestry of red, yellow, green, and blue, threaded into interlocking rows of symbols resembling flowers and snakes. This was more than a decoration to Maya. She didn't know what the symbols stood for exactly, but she knew that somewhere in the mountains of Guatemala lived people who could read them. She passed by the tapestry in the dark on her way to the kitchen. The sink held the night's dirty dishes, plates splattered with bolognese. She loved cooking with Dan in their new kitchen, and the food had been fragrant with garlic and fresh tomatoes, but it hadn't tasted right. Or maybe she just wasn't hungry. Or maybe her stomach had been clenched like a fist. Dan had asked if anything was wrong. She had told him she was fine, but she wasn't. Opening a cabinet, she pushed aside a few coffee mugs, tumblers, and wine glasses until she found what she was looking for. A shot glass. A single ounce. That's all she would have, she told herself, and the photo strip magneted to the freezer reminded her why. The photos were from last Halloween, taken in a photo booth at the bar where they'd spent the night dancing with friends. Maya had gone as Fairy Witch, a character she'd invented while scouring Goodwill for a costume at the last minute. She wore a glittery pair of wings, a pointy black hat, a blue dress with sequins on the collar, and somehow this had landed her second place in the costume contest. Dan was Max, from where the Wild Things are. It had been difficult to find a gray onesie large enough to fit his hardy frame, let alone one that was ethically produced, but Dan had started looking well in advance. Then he'd sewn a furry tail onto its seat and made himself a crown of recycled gold cardstock. The two of them looked like opposites in a lot of ways. She was petite and surprisingly athletic-looking for someone who'd never played sports, while he was tall and looked like he loved to eat, which he did. He was blue-eyed and fair, with a short chestnut beard and glasses, while she was olive-skinned and ethnically ambiguous. People had always guessed that she was Indian, Turkish, Mexican, or Armenian. She was, in fact, half Guatemalan, a quarter Irish, and a quarter Italian. Thick black hair and high Mayan cheekbones met the round chin and upturned nose of the Irish on her face. She and Dan might have looked like opposites, but if you looked closely, you'd see that there was something in each of their postures. A slight leaning down on his part toward her, and an upward tilt to her stance, as if to meet him halfway. They looked happy, and she looked drunk, not quite sloppy, but close. She took out a bottle of gin.